Hi, today we're going to talk about actions. Let's see what they are. As usual, we have the ground and the avatar has an actions component. So let's see how it looks. There you go. So it is very similar to before. We can comment this one out right now. Should still compile. And as you can see, what we are doing is similar to before. We are defining a delegate called my delegate that returns nothing, gets nothing, and then we instantiate it. And what we do is basically the same as before. No surprises here. And then we are defining another delegate that returns again nothing, but takes two parameters this time, a boolean first and an integer, and then we instantiate it. Very well, and there you go. We populate it with a third function and then we call it. So how does it work? Let's see. I moved the console here so we can immediately see what happens. You should see three lines, like first, second, and third. Yep, and true and 11. So it looks like it's working. Fine, okay. So why? This is just a repetition of before, right? Now the thing is, there is something called action that is a predefined delegate type. So somewhere in system, in the system namespace, there's something that says public delegate, void, action, nothing, okay? And when that's the case, I don't need to define a delegate type that is, in this case, called my delegate that returns nothing and gets nothing. If nothing is what I want, I can not define it and simply use the one I already have called action. Action comes from system, so system needs to be included, okay? So again, it is as if somewhere there is something like public delegate action void something, right? Sorry, void action nothing, right? That's exactly what is in system. Fair enough? So because it's in system, when you say using system, we have it. So it's like the step where we define one that returns nothing and takes nothing is already there. It's called action, okay? Now the good news is that there is also an action that is templated, meaning accepts a variable number of input parameters. We can choose the type. So instead of defining again actions return void, so that we cannot change, but the input parameter could be boolean int, for instance, two of them, just fine, right? But why do we define it in order to be able to instantiate it after? Let's, skip it, and now this line, I basically rewriting it like this. Bool and int, right? Same name, so I didn't have to compromise on that. So basically, this definition and this definition are kind of redundant because when we return void, the delegate we define returns void, we should immediately think of using system and then make use of action. If it is void input and outputs, then we just use it without anything. Otherwise, if it returns void but it takes something other than no parameters, then we can specify their type with these angular brackets. That's because it is a template. We can do whatever we want. We can also add 3 or 4. They can be any type, no limitations here. And their use obviously is the same, right? It's just the way we define it. Instead of having a custom type and then custom type that then we instantiate, we just use the one that is called action and then we instantiate it as well. We go back to Unity. So before we were printing first, second, and third, we don't expect any change, right? It should still compile and still behave exactly the same. Bingo, right? Exactly the same. So again, if the delegate we are defining returns void, whether it has parameters like in this case, or it doesn't like in this, we should use action or action with specified parameters because it's already there. Only thing, remember to include system. Everything else, doesn't need to change. That's it. That's pretty much it. Okay, thank you.